Hello and welcome back to Pocket Wellbeing Friend, the podcast that fits in your pocket and walks beside you through the mess, the magic and the everyday moments of life. I'm Dan, and today's episode is one I think might reach you in the quiet moments when you finally paused, or maybe when you can't bring yourself to pause even though you're worn down to the bone. Today, we're going to talk about rest, not just naps and duvet days, even though those matter too, but real permission-given, soul-deep rest. But more than that, we're talking about the strange pressure that so many of us feel, that I can't rest, I haven't done enough, I don't deserve it yet pressure. Does it sound familiar? Well, if it does, you're absolutely not alone. Maybe you keep pushing through tiredness because stopping feels more guilty. And maybe you feel like you always have to earn your rest by completing those to-do lists that are actually never finished. Maybe rest feels passive or pointless, like you're wasting time. Well, if that's you, then this episode is a conversation between us, two humans ambling slowly through a world that is so often running too fast. We'll unpack why these feelings exist, where they come from, and how they affect our mental health, and how we can begin to gently unlearn them. So take a moment now, let your shoulders drop, loosen your jaw, take a slow breath. This time and space is yours. No proving, no pressure, just presence. Let's begin this conversation with some honesty. For a lot of us, rest doesn't come naturally, does it? It's not just that life is busy, it's that something deep inside us resists stopping. And that resistance, well, it usually didn't start with us. From childhood, we're taught a certain logic. You work first, then you earn a break. Finish your chores or do your homework, then maybe you earn a rest. But only if everyone else's needs are met first. Only if there's time. So by the time we're adults, the idea that rest is something we deserve only after proving our worth has been cemented. It lives in our bodies and it whispers in our minds when we try to sit down. And for many people, especially those that are in environments of a lot of responsibility or expectation placed upon them, the whisper becomes a loud inner voice, shouting, what if someone sees you resting and thinks you're lazy? Keep going, you'll stop when it's done. But of course, it's never really done, is it? That's the trick of this mindset. Rest is always on the other side of something. So let's pause right here for a moment, because I want to ask, where did you learn your current beliefs about rest? Who taught you how to rest or not to rest? Was rest promoted in your home, or was it dismissed or even shamed? Now, this is not about blame or name or shame. It's about awareness, because awareness gives us choice. So there is a myth, the myth of deserving rest. So the word deserve implies a test, like rest is a reward we win. But let's flip that for a minute. Imagine telling a child you can only lie down when your value has been proven. It's very deep, I know. Or you're not allowed to feel safe until your inbox is empty. It's absurd, isn't it? And yet we say it to ourselves every single day. This is especially true for caregivers and perfectionists, people that are high achievers and people pleasers, and anyone who grew up in a space where being productive was praised more than being present. I want us to unhook from that idea, because rest is not a luxury. It's a need, like food and air, like stillness. When we deny ourselves rest, we chip away at our well-being, and we feed resentment, and we hollow out our resilience. So try this. Let's do a soft check-in. You don't have to write anything down or anything like that. Just think it. When was the last time you rested before you were exhausted? What comes up for you when you think about taking a guilt-free rest day? And is there a part of you that feels lazy or selfish or weak when you stop? Just notice it. No fixing it and no shame. And can you locate where that message started? Like I said, the goal here is not to shame yourself into resting. It's to make friends with the part of you that resists the rest and understand what is protecting you from. Let's touch on the brain for a moment. Your brain doesn't respond to the present, it responds to past patterns. So if rest has ever led to criticism, judgment or punishment, even subtle, your nervous system might associate rest with risk. And that's why some people feel anxious as soon as they sit down, because the body remembers what the mind tries to override. So if the rest makes you feel restless, it's not because you're bad at relaxing, it's because your system is doing exactly what it's trained to do. But the beautiful thing is, systems can relearn. And it starts with curiosity, kindness, and repetition. Okay, let's talk about why rest doesn't just feel difficult, it feels threatening. Because for many of us, rest is tied to our identity, and that identity, well, it's built on doing and proving ourselves. But let me ask you another thing. Who are you when you're not producing anything? Who are you when your to-do list is blank? That question, I understand, can feel quite uncomfortable, even scary, because we live in a world that measures value in our output. We don't ask people, how are you resting? We do ask people, what are you working on, or what's next? So we internalize the idea that our worth is performance-based. If you're useful, you're good. If you're busy, you're admirable. If you stop, then what are you? This can feel especially sharp and pointy. If you're a high achiever or someone that's been raised in that environment that's got a lot of expectations, or if you're from a marginalised or underrepresented background where you've had to fight harder to be taken seriously. When productivity becomes part of your survival, letting go of it, even temporarily, can feel like stepping off a cliff. Now, another huge reason rest feels unsafe is comparison. The world moves fast. Social media makes it look like everyone is building something or growing something or improving themselves at warp speed. So stopping, well, it feels like falling behind. There's this unspoken fear. If I stop, I'll lose momentum. I'll get left behind, I'll become irrelevant. And that fear is valid because our culture celebrates speed. It doesn't celebrate slowness. It rewards that hustle. It rarely rewards people pausing. But here's the truth. No one puts on their LinkedIn profile. Everyone crashes eventually. And the ones who know how to rest along the way, well, they recover faster. They create with more depth. They hustle with more vibrancy. And they live with more peace. I remember this mantra if I'm ever feeling like I'm in a loop. Rest isn't the opposite of productivity. It's what makes sustainable productivity possible. Think about nature. Trees don't bloom all year. Bears don't forage all year. Soil needs time to regenerate. But humans, we treat burnout like a badge. So instead of seeing rest as doing nothing, what if we saw it as active recovery, like charging a battery or tuning an instrument, like tending the fire so it doesn't burn out? You are not falling behind when you rest. You're investing in the version of you that can keep going with more clarity, strength and care. But let's be honest about something a lot of us do, myself included. When we say we're resting, we're really scrolling. We're zoning out. We're watching 3 hours of TV while our brains still race. We're lying down with our minds buzzing with guilt or planning the next thing. But it's not rest. That's called numbing out. And it's not bad. Sometimes it's the best option we have in the moment. But if we never get real rest, we stay in survival mode. Our nervous system doesn't recover. Our emotions don't process. We don't feel better. We just feel less for a little while. So let's talk about what real rest actually looks like and feels like, and how to invite more of it in. Numbing out distracts you from comfort. Real rest allows you to feel safe in the stillness. Numbing out avoids emotion. Real rest processes emotion gently. Now, numbing out leaves you feeling flat or foggy. Real rest leaves you feeling steadier and softer. Now, again, this isn't about shame. Sometimes we numb because it's all we can do. Because once we know the difference, we can begin to choose rest instead of just collapse. Okay, I know that's easier said than done, but remember, real rest isn't just sleep. It includes different layers that nourish the human experience. One, yes, there is physical rest, sleep, naps, stretching, lying down, without multitasking. This mental rest, which is turning off any inputs, anything that's going to spark your mind, turn it off. Then there's emotional rest, which is letting yourself feel without needing to fix. Social rest, time away from people, performance, social and spiritual rest. Space for connection, meaning and stillness. Take a moment now. Which of these kinds of rest are you most in need of right now? And which one do you tend to forget? In the comments of this episode, I would love to hear your favourite way of getting some real rest. Now, you might notice that real rest feels harder than numbing. That's because it brings us closer to ourselves. In stillness, we feel feelings. We hear the inner critic, we notice unmet needs, but that's also the beauty of it. Rest reconnects us to who we are beneath all the effort. So if real rest makes you tear up, that's okay. That's healing. Let's face it. We can understand the value of rest and even crave it deeply, but the moment we try to take it, guilt shows up like an uninvited guest. And not just any guilt. It's that low-level hum of discomfort, that guilt voice that says, I should be doing something else. I've got too much to catch up on. Who am I to take a break right now? They call this rest guilt, and it runs deep. Well, let's say you finally lie down, you put your phone away, you close your eyes, and then suddenly, ping, I didn't reply to that message. I forgot to buy milk. Is this lazy? I haven't even done the washing yet. Your body might be still, but your mind is on full red alert. That's not you being bad at rest. That's your brain protecting you from perceived judgment, perceived consequences, disconnection, failure. But here's the secret. You can rest with guilt present, because guilt doesn't have to disappear before you rest. You can rest while it's there, and over time, as your nervous system learns that nothing terrible is going to happen while you stop, then the guilt quietens down. Try this next time you feel guilty for resting. Acknowledge the guilt. Name it as a thought and not a truth. Offer it a bit of kindness, and yourself a bit of kindness, and continue resting anyway, even if it's just for 30 seconds. Because every time you rest without obeying the guilt, you retrain your system. Now you might be thinking, this all sounds great, but my life is full. I don't have time to rest. And let's be practical. Rest doesn't need to be hours. It can be one full conscious breath. It doesn't have to be alone. Rest can happen with a cup of tea beside someone you love. You don't need silence. You just need permission. And if you're in that part of your life where everyone needs something from you, kids, work, family, hobbies, here's your reminder. You matter too. You are allowed to meet your own needs before the world finishes asking. In fact, you must, or there will be nothing left for you to give. Here are a few micro-moment rest ideas that I've used to help break that guilt-rest cycle. Sit in your car for 2 minutes before going inside. Lay on the floor and stare at the ceiling for 5 minutes. Watch the steam rise from your tea without touching your phone. Close your eyes for one song. These are small, gentle, but they are revolutionary when done with permission. So we've explored what makes rest hard, what real rest looks like, and how guilt gets in the way. So the question becomes, how do I build a rest practice that lasts even when life doesn't slow down? Because let's be honest, you won't always have the perfect moment. The house won't always be quiet, the inbox will never truly be empty, and the guilt, it still might whisper. But here's the good news. You don't need perfect conditions to rest. You just need a little consistency and a lot of kindness. Think of rest like brushing your teeth. You don't do it once and expect lifelong results. You build it in, you protect it, you make it normal. So let's take the pressure off. You don't need to master the art of rest today. You just need to begin building a practice you can return to, especially when things get loud. The next time you feel like skipping rest, try gently reframing the moment. Instead of saying to yourself, I don't have time for this, say to yourself, this moment will refill me. Instead of saying, there's too much to do, say, I'll do it better with more breath in my body. You don't need to be rested to be worthy, but you do deserve to feel steady, calm, and supported. Eventually, rest doesn't feel like something you have to do or should be doing. It starts to feel like a relationship, one where you listen, one where you care, and one where you come home to yourself. And in that space, something beautiful happens. Your thoughts soften, your energy returns, your creativity revives, and your emotions will have room to move. Rest, remember, isn't where progress stops. It's where you return. So let's end with this reminder. You don't need to earn your next breath. You don't need to earn your place on this earth. And you don't need to earn rest. You're allowed to stop, even if things aren't finished. You're allowed to pause, even if someone else is still moving. And you're allowed to exhale, even if you're not sure what comes next. Rest doesn't make you lazy. It makes you well. So wherever you are right now, on the floor, on a walk, hiding in the bathroom, sitting in traffic, or curled up on the sofa with a cup of tea, I hope this has been a pocket-sized moment of permission for you to rest, because you matter. And when you rest, you're not falling behind. You're returning to yourself. In the next episode of Pocket Wellbeing Friend, we'll explore why self-compassion is harder than self-criticism and how to change that. That voice inside our heads, you know the one, how it formed, how to soften it, and how to speak to ourselves with the kindness we show others. I hope you can join me for it next week. Until then, take care and remember, you're doing better than you think.